Good morning. It's time for Morning Oasis. I'll give you guys a moment to come in. Ooh. I'm feeling a lot better, as you can hear and probably see. I've got like an outbreak of, blemishes. And I just ate like a little pancake really fast, so my digestion is all like blarg, blarg. Let's see, so today we don't have anyone scheduled yet for readings or polls, so if anybody would like a poll, now's the time to ask. Still kind of clearing some stuff out of my throat. We've been doing service to others this week, and yesterday we did service to self. So today, what I want to talk about is what happens when we get into that cycle. Like we serve others, then we serve ourselves, and then what happens afterward. And I think that I've heard from enough of you guys to hear that that many of you are facing some challenges over the last night and yesterday. Good morning, Jesse. So what I'm going to talk about today is kind of in relationship to that. It's the backlash of being served, of receiving, especially of receiving that level of energy. You would like a card pull, Maria, and good morning. All right, Laura and Maria. We've got room for one more. So today I'm actually receiving a beautiful gift. Good morning, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, all right, here we go. We got our three. Connie, who's one of our listeners, she lives up in Washington, and she has a studio where she makes baskets. And I have always dreamed of making baskets, and she's invited me to come and learn how to make baskets with her and make a basket. I'm so excited. So today I will be jumping off right at 11 and going and making a basket, doing something creative, which is my total passion. So I'm so excited about that. Thank you so much, Connie. And if you guys are interested, you can look her up on Facebook. I'll ask her to post. Connie, go ahead and post something about where people could find your amazing baskets, or find your class that you're planning on starting of making baskets, or any of that stuff. Feel free to post it in the Healing Pathwalker group. I think that one of the coolest things that we can do as a community is find ways to access each other, because we're all in this together, right? We're all doing this together, and we each have our own unique gift, our own creations, our own abilities that we share with each other. And that to me is the beautiful thing about this work and this life and this creation. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and start pulling. Oh, yeah. I last night made a huge Indian food feast. Me too. I'm so excited. Oh, let's see. My mic is attached to my iPad, so I don't know how to move it up any closer. I'm sorry. I can try to talk a little bit louder. Is that helping at all, Jesse? I also could plug in my headset, which would have a mic attached to it. Let me know if you think that would be a good idea. It could just be my vocal stuff that's making it harder to sound. Anyway, I bought a new package of dal from the Indian grocery store, and it was kind of funny. I've never had this happen before, but it came with a spice packet included, kind of like when you get those stuffing mixes and they have the spices included. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So I was like, what's this spice packet doing on my desk? And that's what it's doing there. Okay. So let's start by doing some card pulls, and let me feel it out. We've been doing a lot from the Galactic Heritage deck. It does not seem to want to talk to us today. Oh, no. I wish that honestly, if I could get Facebook app to work on my computer, which it's not for some reason. It won't recognize any cameras that I plug into it. I have a whole professional mic system, actually, for when I was recording my classes. and doing other recordings and things like that. So I could actually have like a professional mic that would sound awesome. But unfortunately, alas and alack, the only thing that has been working so far for my Facebook Live broadcast is this. Oh, yeah, this right here, it's a toggle button for my sweater. But it does look an awful lot like a mic, doesn't it? And I haven't yet found a good mic attachment for the iPad. Well, I haven't been looking either. I'll be honest about that. So Maria, the goddesses want to talk to you. Yep. And I'm just going to give them a little quick shuffle. And how are you guys doing? How have you guys been doing since we have had 3 incredibly powerful days? I mean, these last 3 days have been so mighty, really mighty. I pulled a card for you, Maria, but it's actually not for you. It was for me. I've been having some questions in my head. This one is for you. And all of us. So I'm going to look her up just to be able to read off the book with her, because I can feel there's information in this for all of us. So what we pulled for you is Amara Omni, Self-Healing. She's the #1 card in the Goddess deck. Yeah, Jesse, you're being tested. Yeah, me too. I'll talk about that in a minute. So it says, ancient water goddess Amara Omni comes from the lost land of Lemuria. No surprise, right? It is believed that the 2 civilizations, Atlantean and Lemurian, coexisted harmoniously for eons until a destructive third party intervened. Here, I'll pull this forward more. Amara Omni, a spiritually evolved and peace-loving goddess, stores sacred healing information in crystals and works with the magic of geometry and frequency vibrations. The Merkaba symbol shown in the card corners represents healing crystalline energy fields. Energy-conscious Amara Omni subtly reveals that you need to become aware of your subconscious currents and openly accept your wounds in your inner waters in order to heal the reflective patterns and allow the soft divine frequencies of universal magic to heal you. So right now, this is kind of what we just were talking about. We are actually going to be dealing with and facing, especially after what energies that we just encountered and dealt with, we're going to be facing those aspects in our lives, that are broken still, right? When we receive love from another, whether it's another person or another entity or source or God or whatever it is, the first thing that we as humans do is think of and bring up all the things that make us unworthy of that love. It's kind of like our thing as human beings. Not a good thing, but it's definitely our thing. So after receiving that level of intense energy that we received yesterday, we all, I'm sure, all of those of us who still have issues that block us from feeling worthy of that level of love, as I'm releasing some of my own stuff, are going to have things come up that show us these are the ways that you block love in your life, or that love is blocked, or that you're not in allowance for love, or that are not working for you. Andrea, feel free to reach out to either of the Jessies or both. So that's really what's going on right now. It reminds me of, and I think I've told this story once before, a friend of mine who sometimes comes in, and she usually actually watches the show later. She was telling me about how she one day she was in the zone. She could just feel that love radiating through her. She was like, I just felt like a beacon of love and light, and I just was radiating out of me. And she was sitting in a coffee shop, and she just thought, oh, I'm just going to send this love out to everybody here. Just send the love and light out to everybody here. And so she did. And within a few minutes, people were leaving the restaurant in anger. There was a couple that got into a fight. There was somebody complaining about their coffee. It was like at every point around her, everyone started having problems and conflict. And she was like, whoa, what happened? What happened? I was sending love out. Why did all this fighting occur? So she asked somebody who channels consciousness energy, what happened there? Why did suddenly all this conflict occur? And that's exactly what the channel told her, was that when we are confronted with true, total, unadulterated, unexpecting, unneeding love, just true love, then it's going to bring up in most of us, especially anyone who has these issues left to resolve, the things that block love from them, that block their love, that block the flow of love. And so very, very few human beings are in a place right now where they don't block love at all. So what happened for you is going to be highlighting for you and showing you exactly where the self-healing needs to focus, exactly where you got to look and see what is true, speaking our truths. For myself last night, I ended up having a big conflict with my husband. And for us, big conflict now is nothing like what it used to be, where it would literally be screaming and yelling and throwing things and really awful environment. Now it just kind of looks like a few words exchanged and going to our separate corners, simply because we've made agreements to not to behave that way with each other anymore. Doesn't mean that our feelings don't still get hurt. So I totally understand, and I had to kind of look at, okay, this is, for me, these are still the issues where I have blockages, and where love gets blocked from me, and where that flow still has trouble flowing, and all of that stuff. I say that because I maintain transparency with you guys. I don't ever want you guys to think that I'm above or not a part of or not still in it with you doing this work. I think that's what makes this space that we share together so powerful, is that you know that you can come in here and you also can be transparent. You also can come in and show up as you are and be received. And so thank you for receiving me as I am. And that's very powerful for me. And you guys give me that gift. So thank you. Okay, so let's see. Maria, your self-love focus. Your self-healing is going to be a focus of those areas where you're blocking yourself from that flow and those love. I also am getting for you a big ping on it's time to start being more conscious and with intention activating your Merkaba. If you don't know what that is and you haven't experienced much of that, there are a lot of resources about it. We can talk about it after the fact. We can look at it as individually if you'd like. All right, so let's see. Laura. And Laura, I am so sorry for your loss. I know that your sister has passed, and I wanted to let you know that, and I'm sure you already do, but I was kind of feeling into it. She crossed over beautifully. She's much, much clearer and in a beautiful energetic place, but I wanted to recognize your loss and let you know that my heart goes out to you. Okay, so Laura, you got See the Truth. This is card number 29. It's interesting because one of my students and friends last night was over, and 39, and he identifies so strongly with the white owl, and he had a rose quartz owl that he wanted to wrap and add to a strand, that I had made for him, and he was talking about how many times in the last few days he's encountered a white owl, including as a print on a woman's shirt, as a symbol on the wall, as a sticker, and all these sorts of things. Oh, Justine, I'm sorry. Yes, let me feel into that and just check in with that. So it feels like your father, yeah, he did just pass, and it sounds like it feels to me like he's still kind of holding on. What you can do in order to support your whole family and yourself in this moment is you can imagine and visualize a great big beam of source energy and light coming down and flowing down into your home space, onto his vessel, around all of you, so that you can create that energetic platform. You can call down, and it's not because they're not already there, but just bringing in with more intention, more focus, the angelics and his family members. They're already all there, but just, calling them in, creating that space of allowance, flowing that love, visualizing all the ways you love him and are grateful to him, and releasing him from his need to be there to care and support and protect. He was a strong father energy in the sense that he identified as being a father. He's worried about leaving. So just knowing that, I'm just going to throw that out, and my heart and love goes to you and your family. Truly, you've got me there with you, supporting you. I've been thinking about you a lot lately. I could feel that coming. And I'm grateful that he's no longer trapped within that vessel that he was suffering in. That was a lot of pain that he was enduring and suffering. So, and my heart goes out to your family and you. Okay, Laura. So seeing the truth. Don't be deceived. Be watchful and mindful of the illusions that others weave around themselves. This is something else that I've been getting. Know the night. Understand the shadows. See through the darkness to the light of the truth. Pay attention to contradictions. Notice when actions and words are not in harmony. Hone your intuition and insight so that you may know the minds and hearts of those around you and yourself. You're welcome. I think what we'll be doing also in our meditation is a little bit of support to all these people. Yeah, that's beautiful that he had all of his children with him when he passed. Okay, hone your intuition and insight so that you may know the minds and the hearts of those around you and yourself, and trust in the wisdom born to that awareness. So one of the things that I myself am kind of having questioning is like, how much of my own suffering, of my own pain, of my own beliefs are causing me to feel right now like I am in a victim space, right? How much is what my interpretation of experiences? How much can I change my way of viewing the situation in order to be able to be more balanced instead of coming from a victim filter? How much can I release the victimhood filters? How much can I embrace the dark side of my life and my family and my marriage, as well as the light side? Can I bring those into balance? Is that possible? Right? So this is really seeing the truth and looking at it, being brave enough to look at it from all the different perspectives. And there are so many more than we ever could imagine. So you're being called to look from other perspectives, reevaluate, re-examine, re-look at this life and what you're currently struggling with. Elizabeth, let's see. The Earth Magic deck wants to talk to you, Elizabeth. You're welcome, Justine, you're welcome. So, you got DNA or karma. This is for Elizabeth. Karma, and a concept in many Eastern religions, is a Sanskrit word implying the greater universal laws of cause and effect, providing an implied code of ethics within the structure of the seemingly endless cycle of birth. Wow, it's like suddenly I can't read. Birth, death, and rebirth, samsara, which is what they call that process, which we experience throughout our lives in many different versions. This mistaken notion about karma is that it's some kind of punishment, but it's far from that. In fact, it is the purest form. It simply asserts our conduct in this lifetime will determine our next incarnation. It has also come to mean how our behavior and actions in this lifetime create consequences in a slightly different version of the golden rule. This kind of makes me think about, well, I'll say it in a minute, actually. We do not carry our soul's karma into this lifetime, but, we not only carry our soul's karma into this lifetime, but also embedded in the complex coding of our DNA as a genetic ancestral karma. Okay, they don't want me reading this. So one of the things that yes, we do carry soul karma from past lives. We carry the karma of our families. We carry ancestral karma. That's written into our DNA. So too is the energetic karma, which we as a soul program into our DNA in order to impact the life lessons that we have, creating that scenario setup that is the scavenger hunt that helps bring us back into ourselves, bring us back into who we came here to be, help us find and remember and embrace ourselves in all these different ways. So it's written in our code, right? And our code is rewritten every day, all the time. We're constantly rewriting our DNA. We rewrite it all the time based on our thoughts, our experiences, our beliefs. You know, this is something that is not static. This is dynamic, right? So when we actually embrace the karmic system, when we actually embrace that, oh, this is happening to me right now as a direct result of the thought that I just held or the behavior I just did, is the best way to understand karma, free will. So I just had this conversation with AJ, my friend, last night. He was talking about how, you know, he was trying to understand free will. And he gave the perfect analogy for it, and I'm going to share it because it really, truly was. We have so many choices available to us, right? We have so many different options available to us to do. It's almost like, it seems like there's an infinite number of roads. But oftentimes, whatever road we choose ultimately will lead us to the same points that we set as life points in our life. So he was like trying to figure out how to get here. You know, right now he's living all the way over on the west side, kind of far away. It's like a 45-minute drive. And as he was coming, his navigation GPS said that it would be an hour and a half or an hour and some ridiculously long time drive. And he was like, man, is there any other way I can go? So he decided to go some back roads. And so he started going the back roads, and it still gave him that really long time. So then he went on into another back road, because there's a lot of like old highways and old roads and all of that between our town and his town where he's staying. But no matter which way he chose, he still ended up having to cross over at the same points of the roadway to connect to these other choices, these other options. And he still ended up getting here at the same time, regardless of whatever it was that he tried to do to speed that process up or change the path or hit it in a different way. And that's really what happens with free will. Our free will is, yeah, we have all these paths to choose, but the free will took place also at the higher level before we ever even came into this expression, when we decided that this from point A to point B to point C is what we're here to do. Yeah, you can figure out how you're going to get to that point A, point B, and then point C, but ultimately that was where also your free will was exerted. So the struggle of, no, I want to go this way, or should I go that way, or would this way be better, or would that way be better? That's like us fighting against our own free will, right? It's all our own struggle. So when we actually pause and just let it flow, right? Just let it go the way that it's going to go, just following the path of least resistance, then we aren't struggling against the free will anymore. It's that we're in allowance. And once he got to that space and he just was like, okay, fine, I'll follow the optimum route on the Google Maps. And he went, and he ended up getting here a little bit earlier than he expected, a little less than what it said it would be. That's really the only way for us to bypass that whole struggle piece, is to step into allowance. And when we find ourselves out of allowance, what we're dealing with is the beliefs that we hold that block that allowance flow for us. So your karma, your DNA and your karma, perhaps you're having some things come up right now that you're kind of going like, why is this happening? What do I do about it? Why? Don't worry about the why. Know that it's for your highest good, that it is an experience that is designed by you, for you, at this perfect moment in time, in order to support you in growing and shifting and changing. Just like for me last night, having that conflict with my husband, which I'm like, really, again, we've been doing so well. Why is it again, my struggle? When the truth is, what I'm working on is clearing my throat and really speaking my true inner desire. And I was fighting it last night. So instead I fought back with my words, and then had to go, went to bed angry. I'm laying there angry and frustrated and hurt and feeling so separate. And I actually did visualize this separate wall between the two of us. And I'm like, he's not going to get any energy from me. He's not going to feel any love for me when he's treating me this way. And I swear to God, it was the most intense, bright flash of light. And I was like, oh, that's the separation wound. Okay. So I just created a wound of separation in my life. And I had to kind of look at that and be clear about it and go, that's not going to bring us in any way together. Is that my goal? Or is unity my goal? What is my true goal here? Okay, unity is my true goal. What am I trying to learn? I'm trying to learn how to love through hardness. I'm trying to learn how to love when one can't see, feel, or receive or give love on their own. So is this not the ultimate lesson, right? In that, this is karma stuff. This is stuff I programmed for myself in order to be able to be a true beacon of unity, right? I can't be a beacon of unity if I'm not unified in my own space, in my own life. So even someone like me struggles and has challenges with this stuff, you guys. Just being transparent and honest with you. Okay, so that's really, that's the card pulls. Why? Why? The universe, because. Yeah, there you go, Jessie. So it's, when we do service for other people, one of the things that I heard from several people after Monday's service was, actually I heard from 3 different people how they felt like they could really, my own processing, they could really relate and understand and connect, and they could see themselves in that woman who was just trying to do whatever she could to minimize her son's suffering, even willing to put herself in a state of suffering, even willing to compromise herself, even willing to lose those that she loved in order to try and support this one that she couldn't see how to support well. So, they were able to heal these wounds for themselves, right? You're welcome, Karen. They were able to address these issues in themselves and to receive that same healing that we were giving this woman, right? They were able to relate to her, relate to the experience. Some people related to the sense and the feeling in that home space. They could relate to the feeling of what it is to be in such darkness to be surrounded by things that make it feel like there's no possible way you can find the light. You're surrounded in the dark, right? So when we serve others, we actually are serving ourselves. We're serving ourselves by being given the gift of seeing this mirror outside of ourselves. It was an incredible mirroring. Outside of ourselves that doesn't have all of our own personal attachments, personal judgments, personalizations, filters of victimhood. All that stuff's not there because we are looking at somebody else. It's not about us. So we can look and we can see it so clearly. And as we're seeing it so clearly, it will ping and pop particular issues that we ourselves face and struggle with. And then we can apply the same energy, the same healing that we're giving this other person to ourselves. And that's why the raw consciousness says that in order to progress from third density of expression into fourth density of expression, or fourth density consciousness into fifth density consciousness, we have to be at least 52% oriented to service to others and 48% oriented service to self. We must be a part of that self. We are one of the other selves, and that slight inclination to the others is what gives us the gift of seeing ourselves more clearly. So when I'm doing session work with anybody, I recognize they've come to me for help, but they've also come to help me. They've come to me to see clearly, but they're also showing me myself more clearly, right? So the same is true with the next person that we helped on Tuesday. There are so many of us. I myself had an abortion and lost a child at a really young age, right? And had that feeling of like guilt and shame around this loss. And she had a miscarriage that we showed that we talked about in the show. So having that sense of this pain, this loss, this responsibility, this guilt of this child that was unclaimed in some way, that pain for me was triggered and then brought again to the forefront and brought again to the forefront. And I was able to look at that state a little more clearly because I had more compassion for somebody else than I had for myself, right? When I don't have compassion for myself about something, an issue, then I will be confronted by others who have compassion. I will be shown how others are worthy of that compassion no matter their actions. And then I can apply that compassion to myself once I've done my service work. So this is how and why a path of service is not an easy path. It's not the optimum path in the sense that, oh my God, I'm full of love and light now and my life is so joyous and happy. When we see those people, usually if we look far enough behind the illusion of the light, we see the darkness that they're not willing to allow. Last night, that was another thing that came up in conversation was a friend was saying, you know, this woman who's a friend of his she's like almost like a full moon, but there's this little sliver of darkness, and she hates this sliver of darkness. So she does everything she can to try to get rid of this sliver of darkness. And the other friend who was over, he said, yeah, what happens when you look on the other side of that full moon? It's all dark with a sliver of light. So we really want to come to a place where we're balancing the light and the dark so that we always have it in wholeness. And that's why the yin-yang symbol is so powerful, because it shows that balance. They're always together. It's always going to be beautiful and hard. It's always going to be light and dark. It's always going to be service to others and service to self, right? There's a balance going on there. And when we find ourselves extreme and out of balance, like we've all met those light workers and healers who are like, well, I'm going to fix you, and I can do this for you, and I can make this so much better, and my life is amazing. And then you find out it's all an illusion. You know, it's all this big lie. It brings to mind this couple that I interviewed not that long ago, actually. They were kind of the death nail in my last show that I was trying to do, where everything that they were saying publicly was all about how their relationship was this divine relationship, that they were twin flames, and that they were so in love with each other. And they were constantly posting loving, worshipful praise of each other online, and pictures, and all these sentiments of love and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, I have yet to meet a twin flame relationship that works. I'd love to have you guys on my show and talk about it. And they came onto my show, and they pretended to still be happy and in love and together. And the truth was, they were on their way to divorce. They were living separately. They weren't even in the same house while that was going on. And their marriage was a complete sham, And yet they're presenting themselves as healers while lying about their relationship. And I actually had people questioning my integrity for interviewing them when I had no idea that they were lying that way. And I don't scan into people. That's not my business. If you come to me for a session, yeah, I'll look into you energetically, but I don't just look into people energetically. And people are like, well, how come you didn't know if you're really a psychic? Well, because I have privacy. I have boundaries. I believe that everyone gets to have their own private space. I'm not going to scan someone unless they ask me for a reading, right? That's not my place to just look at what somebody is doing or where they're at or where they're coming from. So that's something that I notice in this community. And when people get really focused on reading others and looking into others and wondering what others are doing and using their psychic gifts to read when they're not invited to read, they haven't been given that permission, that is a sure sign that somebody's not being transparent with you. And they're not in full light of themselves. They're not in balance with themselves. They're not in service to others. They're truly in service to self. And so these are those things that, I don't know why but that just felt like it had to come out. So when we're doing this work for other people, we have to be clear about permissions, clear about boundaries, clear about intentions, clear and transparent. That's my belief. And I will always be repeating that with you guys to make sure that we stay in integrity. When we operate from a place of integrity and transparency, then others feel invited to do the same. And when others are not doing the same, it becomes extremely clear. And that's how that rolls. So I wanted to talk about, as our last kind of act of service to others this week, of course we had Justine come on and let us know that her father just passed. We had Laura let us know that her sister passed. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or the day before. I don't track days very well. There are a lot of people passing right now. There are a lot of people leaving their vessels right now. Some of them are leaving it by choice. Some of them are leaving by illness. Some of them are leaving by destruction and chaos. So I thought what we could do today is talk about how do we support the people Tuesday. How do we support those people who are passing? How do we support those people who are still here, who struggle with the passing? And how do we, as service workers, of energy workers, as those devoted to service and a path of service, what is our place to do and what isn't our place to do? So let's go into meditation space, and we'll just let them guide us and see what comes through as how we can support the planetary population as well as the individual population that's passing right now. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Remember, people are passing right now because they're releasing the vessels that no longer are necessary for the old reality. Some are choosing to continue through density expression in another place. Some are going to be coming back here as fourth density expressions. And some are going to be moving even on to fifth density expressions, perhaps in other places, or perhaps to serve as those beacons here for those of us who are seeking to go to that space. So it's, in many ways, it is a gift that's being given, even though it doesn't feel like one. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Make sure you get comfortable. Choose if you want to sit. I need to stand up and straighten my pants out. You know how they get all bunchy? I don't normally wear jeans while I'm doing this kind of meditation. They're not super comfortable that way. All right. I'm going to again use apophyllite as well as some good grounding obsidian. This is a mahogany obsidian. So I'm going to use these two stones, our physicality and our light bodies. Right? So I'm going to put these right here if you want to tune into the vibration before I put them down. Just tune in for a moment. There we go. More balanced. So I'm going to put them right next to me while I'm doing this work. I love using crystal stones to help with supporting the frequencies. I'm going to take a few deep breaths coming into this present moment. And releasing. Breathing in. Feeling the temperature of the air, the smell. And releasing. Breathing in. This present moment, present awareness. Breathing in and beginning to take notice of all those lines of connection that we have ourselves spread thin for. All those people that we believe ourselves to be serving, of service to. We're just going to unhook those lines as we exhale and draw them in with that breath. Coming back into ourselves for this moment, this time. And as we exhale, we're going to unhook ourselves from those family members and relationships and the people that are around us. Breathing in, drawing that self in more, coming into the wholeness of the self, because we are individuations, and this is our time to work on that individuation. Exhaling and releasing, unhooking ourselves from our expectations of ourselves, our beliefs about ourselves, just unhooking and coming in. Continue unhooking as you're breathing in and out and drawing in those lines until you feel like you're fully right here, right now. Not thinking about tomorrow. Not thinking about yesterday, not even thinking about what just happened 5 minutes before the show started, not even thinking about what I said before I said right here, right now, breathing in and exhaling. There's only here, right now. Bringing your attention into the soles of your feet and allowing your roots to grow. Feeling those roots growing deeper and wider as we ask for Gaia to come in and support us. Support us today as we do this work. Breathing in. And exhaling. Feeling that energy rising so quickly. We're so attuned to it now. We already really feeling it, but there is some sense of some parts of the body. I'm getting a deep pain in my left side. When I ask, I get this is not mine. So whoever it is that's feeling that, thank the vessel for showing you this side, this vulnerability. Thank it. And allow it to tell you what it's in relationship to. Imagine there's a mouth on it. As you let the energy flow through, you can also visualize a screen for it to speak to you on. These are just some suggestions. Good. Good. Letting that energy continue to rise up through the vessel, all the way up through the heart, which the heart feels a little tight and a little bit hardened since yesterday. That's totally normal after having received and been blown so wide open like we were yesterday. Thank the heart for reminding us that we're human and there still are things to resolve and work through. Thank goodness, where we wouldn't need to still be here. Releasing that stress and that pain and that worry that there's something wrong with us, that there's a damage to us, that we are not of light, that we are not worthy, whatever it may be, that has in any way been triggered by that flow. Feeling how that light now is coming up through the heart and chest, up through the throat. Oh, I need to stretch. There we go. Our shoulders bear the weight of the responsibilities that we bear of ourselves. So just releasing that. Remember, meditation does not have to be perfect stillness, especially not when they're working meditations. Feeling that energy now up in the head, that Gaia energy all up in the head and the crown. Feeling that crown effortlessly and gracefully opening and blossoming. As we allow Gaia and our consciousness to rise up that line of connection, up to our highest of selves, all the way up until we divide it away from Source, becoming the individuation that we are. You may even find as we do this as a collective, where you and another divided from each other, and how you're now finding yourselves on that same line, coming into the oneness, the wholeness, and slipping all the way up into Source consciousness, into wholeness of consciousness, into the infinite consciousness. Good. Let's just sit there for a moment and feel this unity. Let's all take a moment to show Source the pain and the struggles that we faced as a result of feeling so unified yesterday, of feeling so loved, so held, that we still face, that we still struggle with. Just show Source these things, what it is to be a human individuation, separated. Let's go ahead and bring that Source consciousness energy back down. Feeling it coming back down that line, feeling how it separates and splits and divides as that 1 divides into 2, divides into 4, divides into 8, divides into many. Right? Feel that as it comes down, all the way down to you. Feel your connection, even though it's a division from these others, how wide it is, that it is abundant and infinite. Feeling that flow down through the vessel, down through the crown chakra, down through the third eye. And as it hits each of these chakras, they open and send out and radiate the energy that they individuate. Down through the throat, down through the heart, down through the solar plex. Remembering to keep breathing. Down through the sacral, and down through the root, sending that consciousness source energy down the roots into the earth, into Gaia, serving as that conduit connection between source and Gaia. And now let's start to think about those who've been passing, those that we're aware of, those that are close to us, those that seem far. Perhaps you want to think of a population that's struggling with surviving right now. Let's just start to think of those spaces as we open up and look at the web of creation, the web of human consciousness. Looking as though there's a web of humanity all around the world, seeing where it's denser, seeing where it's lesser, and allow those points that you are aware of, that you feel a connection to highlight themselves. Just like we're looking at a giant world map and we're seeing these points of light that show us where those who are passing, who have passed, who cannot cross over after having passed, who in any way need support or assistance. We're just going to call these into focus. And now visualize your connection to Source, this beam of light connection, and see these beams of light coming down for each individual, for each one of those points of light. See how they have the infinite connection as well, shining that light down, calling in the angelics, because that's their job. The angelics are purely here to serve the energies that are embodied in the creation and the Creator. They're the conduits between. See them coming down, those lights, coming down and hugging and supporting, surrounding those that lost their vessels, those that have passed, surrounding them with their light as well. Shining their love, radiating it out on all those around those people who've passed, the survivors, those who are struggling, those who feel that loss. See that light radiating out. Now, none of us are using our own energy in this experience. We're only working with source energy directly, calling in the angelics, and now we're going to call Gaia in to come in and to support the Passover, the crossover point, the transition of a physical experience into the full energetic experience as she reclaims, recycles, and reuses those vessels, thanks the energy consciousnesses for serving in her creation, and releases them from their work here in the physical world so they can feel free to move on into their next expression. Feel Source's love and gratitude for all those who have passed, for all those who served, for all those who stood in place and experienced, and bring those lessons that they carried with the angelics up those lines so their energy can go back and fully reconnect with that infinite consciousness, with that infinite creation, allowing them to fully reconnect and go back into source consciousness, remembering and embodying their whole selves, the unity. As we breathe, let's go ahead and imagine that there's one gigantic galactic rose. It starts as this tiny little bud in the heart of Gaia, and it's growing and growing and growing until the whole planet is surrounded in this giant rosebud. And now we see that light of Source shining down on Gaia and her rosebud as the rose blossoms, opens, and unfolds. Feel that rose spinning, surrounding Gaia in her totality with the healing, loving energy of this galactic rose. See how that light of Source is like a prismatic rainbow of light. It's crystalline in its energy. And as it shines down on this rose, the rose begins to transition into a crystalline rose. Let's just take a few moments to feel this experience. I want to thank you guys for showing up, for doing this work with me. I'm so grateful. Thank you for serving with me this week. It's been a beautiful week of service with you guys. Go ahead and stay in this space for as long as you choose. Tomorrow's Q&A Friday. Go ahead and come on in and ask your questions and request your card pull. I'll be here. See you tomorrow.